Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How's it going?
Going on good, hectic, but it's good. Yeah.
It's going great. Amazing.
Yes, it's very good actually. Yes.
Excellent. I'm glad everybody's making progress. Um, okay. I have an unrelated note for Jason. In the in the form, I'll just message you. Okay. So, what are we working on today?
Resume, cover letters. That's
Oh,
what
no,
I.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no, no, no. I think we were just going to sit here with our videos off and just quietly stare at each other for an hour. I'm very excited. I've been looking forward to this all week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Evelyn is obviously not really peer pressured. Wow. I'm getting a lot out of this. I don't know if you are. That's amazing. All right, fine. Well, story of my life. Just let you know that I'll see you all in class next semester. There will be no turning off the video camera. It's called real life. There may be even pizza involved, assuming they give me back my pizza budget. I think I spent most money on pizza of anything else the entire year. So today we're going to talk about LinkedIn and resumes and cover letters and basically start building pieces that build a strategy to connect with industry, to get jobs, etc. And I think that there's a lot of pieces that go into it. The most important thing is that you want to do preparation now, even if you're in first semester, to lay the groundwork for success. If you finish the program and you don't know anybody and you have nobody to talk to, and you have no connections, it's going to be very difficult to find a job. In Canada, 75% of jobs are not posted on LinkedIn or Indeed. They're given by people who know people, and they say, oh, that person would be great for the job. Let's hire them. Make sense? So it's a really good idea to build it with a careful strategy. Your data analysts, you should be able to do the same thing for building your career. Find out what's out there, what are the different pieces, and how to put them together. Students in the program have been really, really successful in many different fields. You heard from some of them with the alumni talk. We had graduates who got jobs like in the past week, and they just finished the program a couple months ago or a month ago. And I think that making those connections is really important. I sent out, if you're in second or third semester, I sent out a job posting that one of our graduates, who's now a manager, is looking for somebody to hire an analyst, right? So I think that's a fantastic opportunity as well. I sent that out recently, and there's a whole bunch of other things that are going on. But really, I would say you have to be strategic about how you build this whole process, and we'll talk about some of that today. So I guess the first thing is, you're writing these two different pieces, a cover letter and a resume. The cover letter and the resume are going to be scanned by a computer. They're going to look for certain keywords. So it's really important that those keywords like database, SQL, Python, R, statistics, programming, data analysis, data informed decision making, those things are in your cover letter because those buzzwords are ultimately what's going to tell the computer, look more carefully at this person's resume. Your resume itself needs to be in a format that's easily understood by people, but also understood by a computer, right? So there's a lot of different ways to format resumes, and we could look at some of them. Here's an example of a T format. On the left-hand side is a traditional format like what you might see before, where it says, Dear Sir, I'm an expert in whatever. Please see my resume attached. On the right-hand side, it says, Dear hiring manager, I'm writing you to express interest in this position. I just graduated from the program. I have all the right qualifications. This is your job requirements, and this is my qualifications. So showing exactly what you want, what I can do. Say, I look forward to talking to you. Let's make it happen. You notice that there's way less words. And if you're an HR hiring manager that has to read 100 of these an hour, meaning you have 40 seconds to read each one, that's digestible. It actually makes sense. So this is exactly what you're looking for. this is what I can do for you, right? They align very well. So it comes down to trying to figure out how those pieces connect with each other, right? There's a lot of different options. We're going to look at many of them today. We'll apply for a bunch of jobs and we'll get some hilarious rejection letters. That usually happens as well. It's not personal. I would say that if you're sending out resumes blindly, like cold resumes, you're likely to have like a 1% response rate. That means that 1 out of 100 resumes are going to get back to you and tell you they're not interested. And a very small fraction will say, we are interested. And it's not, I'm just not saying that. That's true. You could hear it from the alumni. They talk about the exact same thing. So you really have to spend like dedicated time clicking like crazy to send out 1,000 resumes to make it happen. But the only thing that we're talking about today is not just resumes, cover letters and resumes. It's also the other part, which is building a network and finding people in this industry who you can basically connect with, who have some kind of affinity, they want to help you, etc. Right? Today I met with a really, as you know, I sent out an email last week about it. I do at least 2 networking meetings every week. I also meet with capstone partners for the 3rd semester capstone projects at least every week. I have 2 of them coming up next week, and I just did 2 this week. And Jason and I meet with clients to find out, are their projects appropriate? Are they in the right industry? Are they things that students can do? Are they exciting and interesting? And we spend a lot of time trying to make sure that the projects are appropriate. This week, I met somebody in insurance who works at an insurance company. They're trying to innovate some new data pipelines to how they retain customers, how they connect with their customers, how they communicate with their customers, a whole bunch of data analysis and tools that are exactly the kind of thing that you know how to do, or you will know how to do when you're in 3rd semester. And the guy said to me, great, I'm really excited to start working with these students. I want to hire them. I need workers. There's not enough data analysts in the world. That's great. That shows that there's this affinity between getting a job and connecting with students in the program. And there's many, many, many different projects like this. We've had dozens of students that have been hired out of their capstones. That's not the point of the capstone, but it really does help connect the pieces that we're trying to bring forward in the program and making connections to industry. We bring people for you to talk to. You should definitely add them on LinkedIn. You should definitely be going through my LinkedIn if you haven't yet and finding alumni from the program and connecting with them. Those are people who work as analysts. Those are good people to know. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Krishno, I love the participation. Seriously. That was good. Give me a second. I think I'm allergic. Now, Krishna, the bad thing is that Idris told me earlier that in order to get participation, we're going to vote one person out of the Friday meeting. Everybody's going to make a vote. We're going to kick them out, just like on Survivor. And the person who's left wins the prize.
Yeah.
Just checking. Okay.
That's a good idea, maybe.
Hopefully it's not. Oh, we started this meeting in a totally the wrong thing. We have to go back several steps first. Several steps before we talk about LinkedIn, Twitter, jobs. I would like to discuss something with you, and I bring this to your attention because I am deeply ashamed. This is the first time in a long time that I am not at the top of DataCamp. Now, I would like to show you where I am at the moment. I don't know what you guys have been doing, but Suraj is currently leading number 1, and Sydney is way down here in position number 15 over the past 30 days. So everybody else who's on top of me on the list, you should be very proud of yourself. You did a lot of work to make this happen. I was very impressed. Now, I'm still winning the past 90 days, and I'm still winning the past, almost the past year. But in the past 30 days, I haven't been able to keep up. So whoever's been doing those courses, amazing job. Seriously, very impressed. And as you know, tomorrow we're going to be hosting through the Google Developers Group that we run a SQL event. So it's a great way to network with people. We're bringing people not just from Cambrian, but also from Laurentian who are in computer science, also people who are in data analytics in industry. We're going to have 2 hours of SQL, the first hour and the third hour. The second hour is going to be networking, introductions, etc. You can meet people who hire data analysts, your job. It kind of makes sense that you should be there and participate, connect with those people, send them your resume, connect on LinkedIn, etc. It's a good opportunity to network. So every day I get multiple messages from people who want to add me on LinkedIn. I would say I get probably between 5 and 10 every single day. Why? Usually what happens is, and this happens sometimes, like people graduate from the program. In the message of when they graduate, they say, "Hey, Sydney, amazing job. Thanks, whatever." It's okay. But 150 people see that. Evelyn, you don't have the Zoom link for tomorrow's meeting. You need to go onto the link that I sent, sign up for the meeting, and then once you RSVP, the link is on there. It should also email it to you. It's personalized for you. What was I saying? So I get a whole bunch of random people messaging me, this person's friends, other people, etc., who say, Professor Sydney, I'd love to be your friend. Connect to me on LinkedIn, right? My LinkedIn is very small. My LinkedIn is very small purposefully, and I reject almost everybody who tries to add me. Currently, I have 700 results, 700 people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. Why? Because every person on my LinkedIn, I want to have some kind of affinity with. In other words, I could do something for them or they could do something for me. It's somebody I know who's a CEO and they're going to hire students, do a capstone project. I can introduce people together. Some people will message me and I'll connect them to people that I know, graduates from the program, etc. Those are people that have value, right? That want to help me in some way. And if I reach out for a favor, they'll be happy to help me. I can also help them. I could arrange capstone projects with them. I could help them figure things out. I'm on the board of a charity that I do a lot of data work with. I can help there too. I do consulting. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways that I'm able to help people and they can help me. That's great. That's the perfect opportunity. I don't have my mother on LinkedIn because my mother is going to not help me and write embarrassing things. So I think it's really important, first of all, to have a very professional LinkedIn. Connect with people you think can help you and connect with people that you can help. LinkedIn has groups. They have groups for data analysis. They have groups for business. They have groups for crime. They have groups for everything you think of. Sometimes you meet people who are competitors. For example, as you know, I'm the coordinator of crime analytics. And one day I was at a conference and I met the coordinator for crime analytics at Seneca. And the guy was really nice. I wanted this guy to be my enemy. We would be competitors, but it turns out we turned out to be friends. It happens. Okay. One day he messaged me and said, I'm dealing with some kind of data. Can you explain to me how to do this thing in Excel? And I'm like, perfect. I'm an Excel expert. I can totally help you. And then later on, if I need a favor, he can help me, right? So it really works out. And it's part of being involved in this community that people understand who you are and what you can do. The bottom line is that you're awesome. You have great skills. You are able to do really fantastic job. The only problem is that people don't know who you are. And the barrier to them finding out who you are is reading your resume, reading your cover letter. And if that's everything that you're being judged by, there's a big barrier. It's very difficult to cross that gap. I'm positive, I know many of you, and I'm positive that if you wanted to convince me to hire you, I would give in because you're very convincing. You are able to communicate very well. I know half the people here that I've talked to, I know that for sure. But if you don't get that opportunity, if they don't meet with you and they just reject you by your cover letter, that's a problem. So you really need to get past that automatic screening. It's called ATS, where they look at your resume with a computer. And you want to have the right keywords in there and the right pieces so you get the first interview. So you get somebody to talk to, because then once you're in the room, you can convince them, right? Now, an important note that we talk about sometimes is in the movies, if they want to cast you for a movie, there's this saying that, when you're in the room and they propose, like, can you ride a horse? Always say yes. Whatever they want, say yes, and you figure it out, right? We had a student that graduated from the program and they offered him a position in Tableau. He had never used Tableau before. So he said, sure, I could figure it out, no problem. They said, great, come back tomorrow, technical interview. We're going to interview on Tableau. He went home, he watched 20 YouTube videos on Tableau, went back the next day. He already knew Power BI, which is very similar. He already knew SQL, same kind of databases, and he aced the test and they hired him. And he's been working there for 4 years. It is possible to do. There are things that make sense that you can scale to. So for example, all of you know SQL, you could pretty easily learn PostgreSQL or MySQL or MariaDB. They're all basically the same syntax with SQL with a few different things added on here and there, but more or less the same idea. Can you learn a new programming language like JavaScript or C# overnight? No, that's something crazy. And you can't tell people you can do that. That's impossible. That's like, somebody telling you, oh, in order to do this job, you have to learn Spanish and you have to learn it overnight to do the job. It's not possible. So you have to be aware of like, what are they asking and does it make sense? Part of that process also is being very familiar with technical interview questions. Now, a lot of our students don't do programming like jobs, some of them do, but you should be really familiar with basic data structures. And if you look it up, they have things like 100 questions in Python, 100 questions in R. I think that if you graduate from the program, you should know the answer off by heart to every single question. Let me find the guide and I'll show you. Okay, so this is the top questions for, yeah, this is a good one. I used this one before. So this is a good example. This has the top 100 questions in Python. And again, I would say if you look at the totality of what they're asking you, you should know 90% of this. We don't cover some of it, and there are some things in here that have to be a little bit different. Like you might have to study for 10 of these questions, but the other 90 you should know. You should know by the time you finish second semester, you should know the answer to all these things. And if you go into the interview really prepared, you're really likely to ace the interview. So let's rewind for a second. We'll start at the very beginning, building a network, making friends with people. First of all, you want to have a professional email. So I had a student that said, punch you in the face and you die, ha ha ha, at gmail.com. Any employer that sees that won't hire you. They think that that's a warning sign. Your email address should ideally be your name, right? That's a good email address to have. So make a professional email, and it's okay if you only use it for resumes. That's okay. Your goal is to get hired. If you want, you could set up a website. Like I have one, Pragit has one. Let me see if I can grab Pragit's one. I don't see it, but Pragit has one that's like really simple. It's just basically his resume. I have one that I'm constantly working on, but never actually finishing. You can take a look at it here. And I built it in HTML with Flask. It has some buttons, links to my LinkedIn, GitHub, Google Scholar, some information, social links, and I built it on a template and obviously never finished it. But eventually I will, and it's good to have all the stuff that you're doing, your portfolio in one place. You have access to GitHub student account. So you can set up a domain. It's called the Student Developer Pack. It's worth about actually like $15,000 if you signed up for it individually. And you have access to amazing tools. So you could register yourdomain.com. So you could make krishna.me or krishna.com. You could set up a server for free and host a website. You could build tons of different tools and have a place to put your portfolio online. So if you sign up for the kit, you have to scan a copy of your student ID, which you could clip from myCambrian, and they'll give you a free domain for a year. They'll give you access to tons of development software. They'll give you training, server space, and a million other things. Like they have a lot of really, really, really fancy stuff on there. I highly recommend signing up. I put a link in the chat. Definitely take advantage of it. The free tools are really valuable, and it will help you brand yourself and make something convincing. So step number 1 is a professional email address. Step number 2 is sign up for Twitter. Sign up for Twitter, not again like the Twitter that you have with the friends that you have with your parents. Sign up for Twitter that the only job of this Twitter is finding who's in data analytics, who's interested in data analytics, and what companies are hiring. That's your driving motivation. You want to contribute to people's conversations, asking about somebody writes, and you can just search on Twitter, search for tweets in Canada that say, what's a good way to graph data? What's going on in data visualization? Find the people who are talking about it, the people who are analyzing data, the people who are using Excel, the people who are using SQL. the people who are using it in your field or your area and connect with those people. Twitter is very low barrier. So if you connect with somebody on Twitter and you send them a message and you say, hi, I'm just starting out in this field. I'm a fresher. I was interested if you could advise me or meet up with me to tell me about my career, or even just send them a message, like a private message. They'll be more than happy to talk to you, right? They're not going to be like, why are you contacting me, a random person? If you talk to that person, even better, if you can recommend something, show them a tool that you learned in school, post examples of the work that you've done from your portfolio onto Twitter, people will notice you. Put in hashtags, put in the right things, and people will contact you. If you start organic conversations with people, saying to a CEO of a company who follows you on Twitter, hi, do you mind if I add you on LinkedIn? They'll say, sure, I follow you on Twitter. We talk all the time. That's no problem. But again, if you contacted that person randomly through LinkedIn, they would definitely say, no, I'm too busy. I get too many random requests from random people. If you can connect to people on LinkedIn and you know people at that company, getting a job at that company becomes a lot easier. Because instead of randomly applying for jobs and being rejected by HR that doesn't know you, you could contact the person that you know and say, do you mind telling HR about me, or can you give me a reference, whatever? That puts you to the front of the pile. So it's a really good strategy to find people in that industry. For example, one of the people from the program works at Loblaws. They are the largest employer of analysts in Canada. They have over 2,000 analysts that work for them. They work with supermarkets and they figure out a million different things, from supply to pricing, distribution, and a whole bunch of other issues. But one of the students is a manager at Loblaws who graduated 3 years ago. If you contact him, he would be happy to hear from you and open up opportunities. He could write you a letter to work there, or know somebody who is hiring, or people in tech. You should be friending Gus, and so on, right? So that's the second part, is that, Idris says all his jobs that he's gotten are through LinkedIn. So you really need to think about, how are you presenting yourself on LinkedIn? What does your LinkedIn look like? How are you connecting with people? And what is, the connection pieces that you're making? Let's take a look at LinkedIn for a second. We'll go through that. But really, again, I'm saying keep everything very professional. You don't want people writing embarrassing comments on your social media. It's not supposed to be Facebook. It's supposed to be a professional Twitter leading to a professional LinkedIn, and make the two of them work together. Every time you work on a cool project, post it on Twitter. One of my students, when I was teaching a programming course, built a really cool visualization, like something really cool. And he put it on Twitter and he got like 700 likes. And then people started connecting with him. And he's like, hey, I see that you work for IBM. I'm totally interested in working with you. And they're like, dude, we want to have somebody like you. It works out, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Okay, the first thing is, when you go to LinkedIn, you want to click on your profile at the top, and you want to think about what your title is. If you write aspiring data analyst, student data analyst, or looking for work, that's not what you do. That is what you are right now. And you should be applying based on what you can do. It should say data analyst, right? I'm a professor, so that's why I wrote that. But the point is that it's a really good idea to make sure that you are writing something that a company says, we want to hire an analyst, that's what we're hiring, as opposed to hiring a random person who's a student who wants a job, right? Really important to make that connection. Now, the most important thing on your profile is this right here, where it says All-Star. You want to make sure that every section is filled out and every section has enough words, for two reasons. Number one, you want people to read it. And number two, you want a robot that's reading it to pick up the right keywords. So here you could set up like, open for work and stuff like that. I don't recommend adding the open for work thing, but you could if you want. This part is your story, right? So basically, there's a lot more that I can add. I actually took stuff out of here recently, but it tells you a little bit about me, what I do, what I'm interested in, some of my skills. Like, very short and to the point. I want to put this in here in a way that, reading my resume, you understand what I'm all about. A lot of employers will look at your activity. So if you click on this button that says See All Activity, you're going to get a page of all the things that I'm looking at, which again is the reason why I'm saying it's incredibly important that your LinkedIn is not personal and your LinkedIn does not have social media on it. So if you're like a million pictures of cats, somebody looking through your LinkedIn is going to see that. They're going to see everything that you've ever liked. If you look at mine, it's all about data science. It's cartoons that I like that are about data science, things that I found that were interesting or that I wanted to share with students, jobs that are coming up, the SQL event for tomorrow. 346 people saw this. Things that I thought were interesting or cool or, something, right? And that's why I posted them. But people will look through this and basically get an idea. If all of your posts like this, all your likes are about politics or controversial subjects or sneakers or something else, people might not hire you for that reason. So it's really important that you look through this and make sure, does this make sense? Remember that when you like something on LinkedIn, it's public and you could look at everything you've ever done on this list. So you have to be very aware that it's not politically sensitive, that, a company's not going to hire you for that reason. I wrote an article. I haven't written anymore, but I suppose I could. I've just been lazy. These are all the posts that I've made, and I post many, many, many things. So there's a list of the top 1,000 things that I've posted, and you can take a look. A lot of it's about data science. A lot of it's about jobs that are coming up that I want students to know about, things that I'm interested in the area that I do, like, for example, in computer science and teaching, OpenCV, other projects that are related to things that I know. I think this is an important one. This is a post about you don't need every qualification to make a job. The list is a wish list that comes from employers. And I really like this. This is from Sebastian Ramirez. He wrote a package called Fast API. Fast API is how you can build an API in Python. It's just like Flask that we covered last week. It takes 5 minutes to get going. It's really cool. But this job requires 4 years experience in Fast API. He only built it a year and a half ago. It's not possible. Should the description be data analyst or business analyst? You decide. That's up to you. And again, I would really do my research, right? We're going to look at job postings in a second, but we'll continue to go through the LinkedIn. We'll take a look at jobs. Okay, now this part is very important. So Cambrian College, I've been a professor for 3 years and 4 months in my current role, but I've been at Cambrian for almost 5 years. If you look through here, it has a lot of words about the things that I did, courses, etc. It's really important to make sure that these blocks of text describe the keywords that you're trying to bring forward. They have words like Python, they have words like SQL and R and data analysis and programming and so on, because that's what computers are looking for, right? You can attach pieces from your portfolio, and I have a ton of them. So this is slides that I made for my programming class in ANA 1001. I have examples of the kind of code that I put together, examples that have to do with different chicken-based dishes. I think we're looking through the same slides. I have some videos about conditional formatting, videos from the program, so you can see different things that happen. This is with Gus. They got a grant that we worked on, the Sea Shanty Maker we made in the Capstone project, and many other things that you can go through and you can see different examples of code that I've written. This is a schematic for an IoT device that I built in class, stuff like that. Each one of these blocks is an opportunity to describe not just the points, but also add those extra keywords and put examples of what you did. So for example, I taught an Excel class for 15 times an Excel class. And I built this video that shows you how you could use VLOOKUP in a robot factory. So it's a very small video. It's only a few minutes long, but it gives you an idea of how to do it. And interestingly, it shows something different, right? It shows something unique about why this is a good thing. I've worked at other places. I've done a series of videos. I connected those as well. I put some examples of slides. Again, my job as a professor, so it makes sense that I would be showing those examples. You should be showing examples from your portfolio. This is information about my PhD. So I wrote about those different words, right? I think I have to fix this part, but you get the idea. Down below, you have your licenses and certifications. I have all of my DataCamp. So I've done a lot of DataCamp courses like all of you. I have courses like mental health first aid I did a couple weeks ago, as well as LinkedIn learning courses, courses at Cambrian, courses from IBM, courses from lynda.com. And you should add all those things in because, again, those are scanned and that comes through showing that you're actively practicing and you're adding those pieces in as you go. And I've done many, many courses. I just keep on adding them as I go. I did my TCPS too in 2013. Some of the things that I volunteered for, and this part has your top skills. You really need to think about what is your job that you want to get. In my case, I put research, public speaking, and teaching, and people voted on them the most simply because those are the top. But if you look down here, I have many other things that I can do. Under industry knowledge, I have these words. Some of this is relevant to my life now, some of it is not. I have tools and technologies, interpersonal skills, and other skills. It's really important to think about, if you could only have 50 words to describe what you're going to do, to pick the right ones. Some jobs won't ask you for Microsoft Excel, they're going to ask you for Microsoft Office. It seems kind of obvious that you know Excel if you also know Office, but you really do have to have Excel specifically there. You notice there's a little blue checkbox over there. That blue checkbox is, I took a skill test. It asks you 15 questions and you have to answer in 15 minutes. And they're kind of tricky, but possible to do. And it gives you a qualification. Like, I'm in the top 3% of people on LinkedIn in Python. And it shows that to potential employers, as well as the Excel one that I did. I just did them for fun. Some of them are really hard. I actually failed at the Word one, which was really complicated. But you know, you could take them every month and you could do them for fun and try to add certifications. Or, well, it's called a LinkedIn Skill Assessment Badge. And then once you get it forever. Then I have recommendations. I don't really get that many recommendations. You know, sometimes people write them for me, but in general, I give out a lot of recommendations. When students graduate, sometimes they ask me to write them a recommendation, and sometimes I'll say yes. It happens. I wrote about my publications at the top, and then different courses that I've taught or taken, different projects that I've worked on, like funded research projects, and I wrote a little bit about what those are. Honors and awards, organizations, and then I have this interest. These are just companies that I follow or things that I'm interested in knowing about. There's big communities on LinkedIn, like business intelligence, analytics, and data, that obviously you should be a part of. I'll send you the link, because these are groups that connect a ton of people together, right? And then if you just go through, you can make connections, you can talk to people. These are tons of data analysts that are going to be all over the place. Okay, so that's step number one. You set up a good portfolio. Most importantly, your resume and cover letter, you checked it in Grammarly. It's properly capitalized, which is a huge problem. You understand that it's formatted. In fact, the college has a resume workshop that they'll read your resume and give you back feedback. If you make an appointment with me or Jason, we're happy to do the same. Don't send it to me to work on. It's not my homework, but if you want to work on it with me, I'm happy to meet with you whenever you want. Make sense? That goes for Jason too. Just send us an email. We're happy to meet with you. Okay, so the next thing is, let's take a look at some jobs. So the reason why I was saying it's really important to pick your top 50 skills, because that's what companies see first when they look at you. So I have a lot of saved job searches because I do this all the time. But let's go into here and we're going to type in analyst in Ontario, Canada. So under jobs, under experience level, I did internship, entry level, and associate, which is usually the place that most students are in. Although we have had students that got higher level jobs because of job experience in the past. And then I could filter it by most relevant, anytime, internship, or something. Yeah, okay, that looks good. All right, now, if I go in here, you'll notice that the top job, senior data analyst, it's for a company called Economical Insurance, and there's 5 school alumni who work there, which is great because these are people I know, or they're people who could definitely help me. And if I write them and say, hi, we went to the same university, would you mind writing me a letter? That could be a really good thing. There are 3 company alumni from Cambrian that are at this place for the senior data analyst job. Maybe that's a good idea. I can click on these people, find out who they are. I actually know this one, and I know him personally. I could easily send them a connection, say, let's connect. I'm interested in talking to you, and look for a job at this place, whatever the job is. It's really important that when you look through this, they're saying they're looking for Tableau, Power BI, Python, R, SAS, SQL, Oracle, or similar. The or similar part tells me that if they're looking for SQL, SAS, or SPSS, and they're looking for Power BI, Python, SAS, SQL, Oracle, or similar, it's within your skill set. You know SQL, you know SAS. The senior part might be a problem, and maybe this job is miscategorized. You should be looking for the regular data analyst, right? This one has renal data analyst full time. This is for the health system network in Toronto. And again, let's take a look at what they're actually asking for. This is for health analytics, basically. They're looking for data reporting, etc. And they say they want Microsoft Access and Excel. And that's basically it. I think that should definitely be a job that students in health analytics can apply for. The job is asking for specific health related stuff, med tech, etc. That's what students in health analytics learn. It makes sense, right? Just like you'd find the same kind of job with data analysts in business, like for example in this applied systems, etc. What do they want? SQL, experience with cloud system like AWS, Python, R, other coding language, Power BI, Google BigQuery, or something else. All of you know most of that stuff. You could figure out the rest. You could take a course on Data Camp and learn the rest of the things you don't know in 2 days. So depending on what the job is, you're able to do it. Now, I want to show you that, let's go to all filters. And we're going to click on Easy Apply. This button here, Easy Apply. I'm going to press OK. By the way, when I typed in data analyst in Ontario, I got 3,549 results. This is going to show me 400 results. The list that I get now is called Easy Apply, where it has this button that I press it. When I press it, I could attach my resume, and I applied. It sent me an email and said, congratulations, you applied. Data analyst for this place. I applied. I sent them my resume. Good to go. How many years of experience do you have in Excel? At least 10. ERP, at least 5. Inventory management. Yes. No. At least 5. Review. Submit. You're done. Okay. Now I want to show you something. If you look at these jobs, this one has 31 applicants. This one has 59 applicants. This one has 37 applicants. This one has 88 applicants. This one has 42. This one has over 200. Okay. This job is a business data analyst for Lug. I don't know what that is, but we could read about it a little bit. It's a luggage company. It needs SQL, Oracle, Excel, macros, VLOOKUP, pivot tables, etc. You should know how to do that. Let's give it an apply. I could be working in a luggage company. It's amazing. No, yes, SQL, send. Great. I just want to ask you, I have a pretty good resume, I think, but again, my resume is specifically geared towards academics. But if I apply for this job, this data analyst job at the luggage company, am I more likely to get this fancy job with 200 applicants, or am I more likely to get the job with 59 applicants, or the one that has 37 applicants? Again, I'm only looking at Ontario for very specific jobs. I could get rid of Ontario and look across Canada. And now there's 744 jobs with this Easy Apply. Easy Apply is easier to apply, but at the same time, everyone is applying. Everyone is pressing the button, because look, in 2 seconds, I just press submit application, and there you go. I now signed on to be the head of Saskatchewan Gaming Senior Data Analyst, along with 14 other people. The problem with this approach is that you could go through all 744 and nobody will get back to you, possible, just because each one of those jobs has tens or hundreds of applicants at the same time. So really, if I get rid of Easy Apply and I look at data analysts in Canada, I end up with 6,679 results. And I just need to spend time working through them, strategically reading them, cover letter, resume, and trying to put together a solid application for these companies. It's good if you prioritize them by ones that you know, right? So if you go into people with filters and you look at, let's say, posted within the past week, so you know that they're relatively fresh, they're interested in hiring people, and you can pick the kind of job. For now, I'm just going to leave that: on-site, hybrid, remote. Where is the job? What's the industry, job function, title? You could also select by under 10 applicants, so it'll show you a much smaller one. People in your network that you know that work at the company. So we're going to do, I will turn this off, in your network jobs. And it shows us 100 results. So there's 100 results across Canada for data analysts that have at least one person that I know that works there. So for example, at Loblaws, I have 3 connections that work there. So I know these people. They're all of my former students. It would make sense that I can contact them and be like, "Hi, can you write me?" And you need to look at their job titles. Yogesh is a master data analyst. Himani is a senior supply chain business data analyst, and Noah is a business development manager. People who would be able to have some influence on the hiring process, I hope, and help me get an interview, talk to the right person, talk to a hiring manager, etc. Right? And you can see, like, obviously, I have a lot of friends who are professors, so you see a lot of people are these, research institutions, universities, colleges, etc. Because that's where I know people from. But there are a lot of different people in industry, right? So my recommendation is, the low hanging fruit, the really easy ones to do are all the easy to apply ones. The problem is that everybody's doing the same thing. So you could press the button 700 times, see what happens. I recommend maybe be a little more selective and try to get them. And again, it makes way more sense to have a smaller pool that you're more likely to talk to than send out thousands and thousands of resumes. So this one, I narrowed it down to 50 resumes, data analysts in Canada. Now, there's a total, you could think about it, our total population size of potential jobs is around 7,000 jobs that we could apply for. But if I type in something different like Excel or Excel analyst, and let's clear the filters. I'll leave this one and I'll get rid of these. It shows me 29,000 jobs require Excel. You'll notice something interesting, that these jobs aren't called business analyst. It's called risk analyst, commissions analyst, quantitative investment strategy structurer, retirement actuarial constructor. What do these 4 jobs do? The exact same work. They all work in Excel. They all analyze numbers. They all come up with actionable intelligence, but they have different words that describe them. But I'm willing to bet that if you look through the requirements, what they're asking, they're all going to say Excel, SQL, some kind of database, some kind of whatever. It's all going to be the same, right? It just makes sense. Look, this one has SQL, it has Excel. This one probably has VBA, Python, Excel, Office. You get the idea, right? So if you look through, like this one says showroom manager, project coordinator, financial analyst, accounts receivable administrator. I don't know about the graphic designer, but financial analyst, human resources generalist. A lot of them have the same. Oh, look, they're looking for a preferred skill badge, which is weird. I don't know what they want. Oh, it's Excel. So they want somebody who's certified. So that doesn't apply to you because you have to have a HR certification, but you get the idea, right? There's a lot of different opportunities to find people. Now, there's a few other things that I wanted to point out. If you go into LinkedIn, not only can you connect with groups like we talked about, and also connect with people who you could ask for. There's this 10,000 cups of coffee at Cambrian. I think I've talked about it before. It's this networking and mentorship. Here's the link. Just go down here and click on this button. Once you log in, it says, "Hi, Sydney." I haven't added much to my profile, but if you go to members, you could look through the 459 people, including some of you I recognize, who are part of the program. Many of you. Never mind. But you could look for other people, filter them by people who are more senior. So mid-career, seasoned alumni, industry partner, etc. And that gives you, these are people that you should probably be talking to, right? See what their jobs are, etc. Now, this is a very relatively small group. Where could you find this group on LinkedIn? If you go to Cambrian College Alumni Association, this has the connection to many, many alumni. Now, you'll notice that I have 152 mutual connections, but Cambrian Alumni Association has 990 people who have graduated, who are business leaders, etc. And these are people that you have a natural affinity with because you could write them and say, "Hi there, I saw that you graduated from Cambrian. I'm interested in connecting with you." So I could look at all my second level connections. First level is people I'm already connected with. Second level is people who know people that I know. and we're connected through the Alumni Association. So it gives me 972 people I'm able to connect with now. Some of them I know, but I haven't connected with yet. Other ones, like for example, if I go to current company or if I go to current job, I could look for a position in like HR or management or something else. I could look for the industry, what their language is. I could look for people in certain job roles, like in title. Let's try HR. There's 8 people who work at HR that are not connected to me that are part of these companies. And then I go through them. Nicole is a senior HR professional. She's also a friend of the Cambrian Alumni Association. If I wrote her a letter that said, and Peter is the lead of HR strategy, etc. Right? So I don't know what industry these people are in, but for example, let's click on Melanie. Melanie is a human resources leader. We both worked at Cambrian. Right now, she's working for this organization. Maybe I'll send her a message and say like, "Hi, Melanie, would you be interested in mentoring me? I want to, ask you some questions about the industry, where I should be talking to, who I should talk to." Her job is to find people and hire them. So she definitely has friends or knows people who are the perfect connection for you, right? People who are actively looking for you, they just don't know that you exist yet. There's certain people who are like very famous, and those people are connectors. So there's this guy, Adam Karpiak. He's hilarious. He's a HR recruiter. He writes a lot of very funny things, and he has like every post that he makes, find an employer that values you, not just tolerates you. And he has 3,400 reactions. And if you look through the comments, you'll find many CEOs of companies that say, "No, we're awesome. We love to hire people, etc." Respond to the message and say, "Hi, I'm a data analyst. I can help you figure that out," or something else, right? Make those connections. That really helps. And again, it really comes down to building affinity, finding a place that you could do somebody a favor. They can do a favor for you. You could contribute to what's going on. You could use Twitter and LinkedIn like your portfolio. Every time you do something cool in class, every time you build a neat visualization, take a screen capture, throw it in there, show people what you're working on, and you'll get responses and likes. Put the hashtags on there and make those connections. Because once you start building a really solid network, it will open up a lot of opportunities. We didn't even talk about cover letters and resumes, but like I said, the most important thing is proper formatting, making sure that the format looks okay. There's no errors, like capitalization is really, really important. And yeah, I just talked for 45 minutes straight. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or thoughts, or we're just staring at each other? Okay. Well, that was great. I do have a very important comment though, and you could take this how you want, but this is my angsty comment of the day. It's very important, and this is on behalf of both me and Jason. It's very important that if you want us to do something for you, please tell us about it. And that means if you want us to write you a letter, if you're sending us as a reference for employers. So far this semester, I've had 3 students give my name and information to employers for students that I've never met, I don't know, and they didn't tell me somebody's going to call me. It looks really bad if somebody contacts me and they say, "Hi, this random person asked you for a resume." Now, we're not allowed to talk about your student records because they're private unless you give us permission in writing. If you don't talk to us first, if you don't share your resume, if you don't tell us what you want us to say, or share that what you're doing in the program, then what am I supposed to say to the person? They're a human. They contacted me. I don't know. It's very embarrassing and very awkward. So do some preparation homework. Let us know that somebody's going to call us. Tell us what the story is. We're happy to help. Our job, our metric of success is that you get jobs. That's why we're here. But at the same time, we want to help you. Let us know. That's it. Just let us know. Send us your resume. You can make an appointment to meet with us, but you certainly don't have to. Send an email and say, "Hi, somebody's going to call you." Say nice things. Done. I'm happy to say nice things. Krishna, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, whatever you are saying is absolutely correct, actually. So, one thing I just want to ask you is that do in our college we have some kind of like interview preparation kind of any?
Yes, there are several. Let me get you the information.
I mean, because generally what I find is actually during the technical part, it seems to be okay sometimes. For the behavioral part, actually, certain things like in such situation, what you're going to do and all that, I stumble upon actually. So maybe if someone can help on that.
For sure. So we could definitely do that. We'll set up a workshop if you want. Here, if you click on the link that I sent, this is from the Career Center. They have an open resume critique where you could send in your resume, they'll grade it and send it back to you. And like I said, Jason and I are happy to do that as well.
Okay.
They could also help you with the co-curricular record, which goes onto your transcript. They also have job interviewing and so on. And I should point out that in February, they have a career fair. A career fair is when they have companies from across Canada. It's going to be virtual this year. So they have companies from across Canada. They have information sessions about their company. And they talk to the students. The reason why they're there is simple. They want to hire people. I went to a session last year. I'm not joking. Nobody showed up. It was me and the CEO. I wrote a letter to my class and I said, "Where are you? Show up." And one of the students got hired, full-time job, in the meeting.
Yeah.
Just for showing up, right? The companies want to hire analysts. They want to meet people. They want to talk to them. Make it happen. Show up at the meeting. I'm going to send you many more emails about this next semester. But the bottom line is, for the career fair, go to the sessions, meet companies, and use this as your interview practice. If you meet the CEO of a company, you could experiment. I know I don't want to work there anyways, but do a sample interview. See what they say. See what the questions are. You'll be a lot less nervous about it. Worst case scenario, they don't hire you. Who cares? You didn't want to get hired there anyways, but you get valuable experience that you could use for the place that you're really interested in getting hired by, right? So going through the process a bunch of times to normalize is a good idea. And we're going to, the Career Center also has jobs for while you're in school. They also have those sessions where they do practice interviews. So definitely send them a message, the Career Center, and attend the sessions for the conference. Sure. Jason would like to point out, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's really true. You really, really have to, show up, talk to people, etc. When it was in person, I would go with a bag and collect pens from every table. And I would like wingman the students, be like, "Hi, did you meet this student? They're amazing. Hire them," right?
Yeah.
I think that it's more difficult when you're on Zoom. I'm only saying that because, we have 22 people with their video off. You're not going to get hired like this. That's obvious. But if you show up and you talk to people and you actually make an effort, stuff is going to happen. Worst case scenario, they don't hire you. They're going to connect you to places that will, right? So I think it's really, really important to build those networks, build those connections, meet people that you wouldn't meet otherwise, and leverage that into success. That's really what it's all about. It's making connections and finding out how you could help somebody and help them discover that you're awesome, right? And try to make those introductions. Everybody has a different background that they want to leverage using the tools that we're learning in different areas. Think about what's the best and most efficient way to do that. And I know that for many people, that looks very different. Idris is different and interested in different things than Daphne's interested in, but there's definitely both places where they could apply their skills in different ways to get really fantastic jobs, right? That's the goal. We will talk about some other things later. We don't have time for it today, but it's important to know going through the process. Okay, so today we talked about setting up your professional profile, right? Like connecting on LinkedIn with people, doing research, finding the right jobs. You could start applying for jobs now, even if you can't work at them, that's okay. It's a good experience to get out there, work on your resume, work on your cover letter, start building your social media presence professionally on your email, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and all that's okay. What happens when you get a job offer? It's really important that you understand the terms of the job offer, how much they're paying, what questions they're asking you, what are they not allowed to ask you. In Canada, they're not allowed to ask you about your grades under normal circumstances. Unless you're applying for graduate school or further education, they could get your diploma, they could ask for that. They can't ask for your transcript under normal circumstances. Sometimes they do, but there has to be a reason. They can't ask you if you're married. They can't ask you how old you are. They can't ask you if you have kids or are planning on having kids in the future. They can't ask you for your sexual orientation. And surprisingly, all of these questions have come up with previous students who are applying for jobs for bad companies that they said like, "Oh no, you're going to have a kid, so we're not going to hire you." Illegal. You're not allowed to do that. They can ask you questions that are standard for the job only. They could also ask you questions about anything that you bring up. So if you volunteer information that they wouldn't have access to otherwise, For example, let's say you were 80 years old and you mentioned that over and over again in the interview, they could ask you about it. Why would you want to get this job if you're 80? They can do that. It's not discrimination if you bring it up. But as far as their job interview goes from their side, that's not something that they can ask. They can't discriminate against people on the basis of like age or gender or anything else. It's really about, do your skills match the skills job? And that's why I showed you the T-formatted cover letter. Really says, here's the things you're asking for. This is what I can do. They work together, right? So I don't know if that's the only style that works, but it's a good idea to like have resume and cover letter that are adaptable, that work for different jobs, different situations. Okay, so I just said a whole bunch of words. Next week, we have a program meeting. We're going to be talking with Michael King, who's a public health epidemiologist, and he's going to be talking about how he uses data. He teaches in the program as well in health analytics, and he's going to be talking about how they use data in public health. I think it's going to be a very interesting talk, and I think it's a very good connection. Apparently, there's hilarious jokes involved, so I'm looking forward to it. As far as this week goes, I think that there are a lot of different directions to go in, and the really important thing, and it doesn't matter what semester you're in, is start building a network now. Start connecting with people, start finding people. If you know people in industry who could refer you to jobs or connect to you, now, when you need a job or 6 to 8 months from now, you'll be set up that you have people to talk to. You could have a network to reach out of. By the way, while you're in the process, while you're doing your courses, message people. The first thing that I did when I became a program coordinator at Cambrian is I set up an account on Twitter, Data Professor. I started connecting to every coordinator that I could find of data analytics programs and messaging them and saying like, hi, I'm a data analyst coordinator. I have no idea what I'm doing. What do you do? What's your best practice? What courses do you teach? What should I be doing? What should I keep in mind or know about? And tons of people decided to help me. In fact, one of the people who I reached out to randomly on Twitter, I became good friends with, and she ended up being on the committee as the external for my PhD, just because I reached out to her on a message on Twitter. There's other people that I've reached out to, again, totally randomly, who are data analysts, who not only came and gave guest talks in the program, but also supervised applies research projects, did capstones, and built a ton of opportunity for students. That opportunity came from reaching out to random people because we have an affinity, because I have something to offer them, because I have the ability to connect them with resources, and they can do the same, right? You know, I have built up good credit with them. And that's basically the idea. It's been a very long week. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you want to come learn about SQL, we made it at 9 in the morning, so students that are out of the country can attend it relatively early and not 2 o'clock in the morning. If you don't want to wake up, that's understandable as well. But hopefully it will be a good opportunity to network with people in tech, as well as learn some SQL, which I know is a pain area for many people. And this session is not just our program, it also includes IT business analysis, as well as mobile app development, as well as IoT programming. So all the students will be, from all the programs will be together. I think we have 7 or 8 programs that we're going to work together on that session tomorrow. So hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. As usual, if you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, please send Jason or I an email. We're happy to talk to you. If you have a resume or cover letter that you want us to look over, please make an appointment with us. We're happy to sit down and meet with you and go over it and maybe come up with some strategies that could help applying for jobs and building out your network. And if you haven't yet, please add me on LinkedIn, look through my LinkedIn connections, and start connecting to all those people. And basically come up with a plan, not just make it happen randomly, but come up with a plan saying, I want to connect with people who do food and beverage analytics. I want to find every person in Canada that does that job, and then they'll know about jobs when they come up. It makes sense, right? It leverages what your background is along with analytics to find the right opportunity. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Well, I have to go to another networking meeting now. It was nice to see everybody. Thank you for coming out, and I'll see you next week. Guest speaker, and we'll go from there. Bye. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you so
much.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next week, you're talking for 1 hour straight.